Okay. Very good morning, guys. So last day we just been talking about method overriding and how to use this. Mainly, actually, we started with a concept called operator overloading. Here, last day what we started is we have started up the discussion about operator overloading. So what is operator overloading? You know, method overloading. What is method overloading? It's an approach of defining multiple behaviors to a method, and the behaviors of those methods will vary based on parameter types. Now, when you're talking about operator overloading is also same. It's an approach of defining multiple behaviors to an operator. It's an approach of defining multiple behaviors to an operator, and those behaviors will vary based on the operand types between which we use. Not parameter types here. What is it? Operand types between which we use the operator. For example, take plus. Plus is a addition operator. Am I correct? When used between numerics. But the same plus is a concatenation operator when used between strings. Is the behavior varying or not? If I use between numerics, it is doing addition. If I use between strings, it is doing concatenation. So the operator is same, but behaving in different ways depending upon the operands in between which we use the operator. Are you guys clearer or not? Understood, everyone? So that's what exactly operator overloading is all about. It's an approach of defining multiple behaviors to an operator. What did I explain about method overloading? Same thing all I'm telling you. It's an approach of defining multiple behaviors to an operator. And those behaviors will vary based on what? The operands between which we use the operator. If I use for example, this is an addition operator when it is used between numeric operands, and the same plus is a concatenation operator when used between string operands. Okay? And do you remember, the behavior for an operator is predefined. The last class I was telling you, the behavior for an operator is predefined. Where is it defined? It is predefined in the libraries of our language. It is predefined in the libraries of our language. And how is it defined? It is defined with the help of a set of methods. What methods? I said we call them as operator methods. It is defined with a set of methods called as operator methods. And the syntax of the operator methods: modifiers or a public is what used. Static. Remember, operator methods must be static. You define a normal method, maybe static, maybe non-static, but operator method must be static. Why, sir? Because I want to call it without prefixing an instance again. Say you want to add, yesterday you added two matrices. How did you add? M1 plus M2. This is how you added. Because it is static, I'm able to directly use it. If it is non-static, how should I call here? How can I call non-static members? Prefixing instance now? So I should call like this, M1 dot plus. Is it looking good now? Tell me. No, so let's say operator methods must be static. Mandatory? Yes, it is. Next, type. What is the type? Return type. What is the return type of your method? What is the return type? See, last day, for some methods we just used Boolean as return type, like equality, non-equality. When I'm adding two matrices, return type is matrix. When I added two integers, return type is integer. When I added two strings, return type is string. When I added double and a decimal, return type is decimal. Are you clear? So that is the return type. What it has to return. What it has to return. Next, operator. What is this? Name of the method. Array, we say main method now. What do you mean here? Name of the method. So now I'm calling operator method. So what is the name? Operator. Be careful. I don't know why, but this will be in the lowercase. Usually method names and all will be in Pascal case now. This method name will be in the lowercase. They defined it in the lowercase. So be careful when you're typing it. It should be in the lowercase. And here what you should write? The operator for which you wanted to define the behavior. The operator for which you wanted to define the behavior. You want to define the behavior for a plus operator, a minus operator, whatever it is, you're required to tell that. Here, the type of operands. Last day we saw, you want to use between integer operands, double operands, string operands. Same way, matrix operand. I shown you all these things. Okay. and given you some few examples also. I said you, they're all defined in the libraries. They're all defined in the libraries. They're all defined in the libraries for you. Are you clear? Okay. So fine. And finally, I just said you this point. Right? Same like that. You can also define your own operator methods. You can also define your own operator methods. And that's what we done in the last class. Remember? Read this note. Using an operator between new type of operands. Last class, what the new type of operand we used? Matrix. So I have defined a plus operator for using between matrix operands. Is that clear? These are all predefined. And now what you're writing is your own, you're the defined. How the return type will be different? When did I say return type will be different in overloading? In overloading, you can change up the return type, no problem. What I mean to say is, public void addnums. Public void addnums. Just a method. Int comma int I or int a comma int b. It's an overload method. What is the return type? Void. I want to write another method. Public void addnums. Is this valid or not? Yeah, overloaded. Valid only, na? So what I'm telling is, return type doesn't matter here. Here I want to take the return type as integer. Change it, no problem. Only parameters. That's what I already clarified you earlier also. Not about the return types. When you cannot change the return type, I said you cannot change the return type in this scenario. This is invalid, but this is valid. How, sir? Because here and here parameters are matching, but here and here parameters are not matching. When parameters are not matching, you change the return type also, it will take into consideration. Are you clearer or not? Okay. So did you understand, Manoj? How the return types will be different in overloading? You can change them. That doesn't matter. You can use a different return type. Okay. Yeah. So that's what. So like this, can we pass plus 2 comma 5? What is it? 2 comma 5 here? Are you calling it anywhere, Shrikant? You're defining here. When you're defining, you need to write the type name, not values. When you're defining a method, you're defining a method. What do you write? Int a comma int b. Can I write 2 comma 3? You're calling or defining. When you're defining, you can't pass values. When you're defining, what is the passes? Types. When to pass values? When you're calling, not when you're defining. Okay. So fine. So yeah, these are all what I explained in the last class now. Next. I showed you an example yesterday, remember? And in that example, I first explained you about operator overloading. Array, 3 things are present in that method. Did you notice it? What are the three things? I explained you about method overriding. Method overloading I explained you. I also explained you operator overloading and also explained you hiding or shadowing also. Hiding or shadowing. Where did I use hiding or shadowing? For equal and not equal. For equal and not equal. What do I use? Hiding or shadowing. Okay, all those 3 things were just been used up in our class. Which class? Matrix.cs. If you observe in the notes, guys, for your understanding, I given a comments for everything. See what I'm doing? I'm declaring attributes for a 2x2 matrix. Next. Constructor. What I'm doing? Initializing attributes of the matrix in constructor. I'm initializing the attributes of the matrix in constructor. In the constructor, we're initializing attributes. Next. We are overriding the toString method inherited from object class to return values of the matrix in 2x2 format. Otherwise, what it returns here? Type name. Do you want the class name? What do you want to see? Values. That's why I gone for I'm sorry. That's why we began for doing this. What next? We implemented the plus operator so that it can be used between two matrices. Next. Are you clear? Next. Guys, understand English correctly. We are not implementing this, we are re-implementing it. Why? Already implemented in my parent. It is already implemented in my parent. So what I'm doing here? Re-implementing. See, overriding means re-implementing. Already I said here, overriding, hiding is all about re-implementing the method. That's what I said. You remember, overriding is re-implementing, but re-implementing means not only overriding, re-implementing can be done by using overriding or hiding also. So here what you're doing is re-implementing the equal operator using hiding or shadowing, so that can be used between two matrices to perform. To perform what? Values equal comparison, because original implementation for the operator in object class is reference equal comparison. Understood? So to make you understand, on the top of the method only given you comments for all the things. Okay, same way. Here also, re-implementing the not equal operator using hiding or shadowing, so that it can be used between two matrices to perform not equal comparison, because original implementation for the operator is reference not equal comparison. Okay, the original implementation for this operator is reference not equal comparison and reference equal comparison. And another point I highlighted, you remember, if you want to do this overriding, if you want to override, you cannot override only one operator. It is mandatory to override operators. Either both should do comparisons on values, or either both should do comparisons on reference. One cannot do comparisons on values and one cannot do comparisons on reference. That's not allowed. Either both should be values comparison or both should be reference comparison. So don't try to mismatch it like this. I hope you guys are clearer or not. Understood? Huh? So that's all about how you define the operator methods. And here you can read, guys. I just given the description for all these things to you. Read the first point, all of you. Is the first point clear? What toasting method is? Object class. What it returns you? Type name. What it returns you? Type name. Next. So did you get the point? The new method doesn't return the type name. The new method returns the values. It returns the values. Okay. In a matrix format. In a matrix format, it is going to return the values. Next. Okay, now I have just gone for explained you the concept yesterday, written the comments to you, and also given descriptions for everything what has just been done. Read them thoroughly. That's what I say. Is that clear? Okay. I see. Basically, anyone can change the behavior of the equal and not equal operators, because it is already defined in the parent class. Already, It is done in the predefined classes also. What is that? It is done in the predefined class also. For example, say, I want to use equality operator on two strings. Will it do reference equal or values equal comparison? Say, string S1 is equals to hello. String S2 is equals to hello. If I do a values equal comparison, both are equal. If I do a values equal comparison, both are equal. If I do a reference equal comparison, both are not equal. Correct, na? A reference equal means memory pointing. Both are not equal. Values equal means both are equal. Did you understand my point? Now understand me. Now tell me. Will it do reference equal or values equal comparison? That is my doubt. When I say S1 is equals to S2, what it is going to do? Reference equal or values equal? Just guess here. Actually, by default, this is also anything from object now. So what is the original behavior? Reference equal. So let's say string class developer also has overridden these two and changed it to values equal. String class developer also done that and changed it to values equal. I can show you. Observe string. And you know how to see the code of the string class now? Right click, go to definition. You see the metadata. Check out. Just like you done, string class developer also done that. See, you done. Just like you done. Why you done? You did not like a reference equal comparison. So you change it to values equal. Same like that, the string class developer also did not like it. So what did he do? Change it to the values equal comparison. If you find the methods in the class means, that is values equal comparison. If you don't find the methods in the class means, then it is a reference equal comparison. Are you clear? What you're doing exactly matching with what is predefined now? Understood? So that's what. So anyone can do that. Either predefined class also will do, or user defined classes also will perform that action to us. Okay. Now M1 and M2 are equal or not equal? Now M1 and M2 are equal or not equal? They are not equal. M1 not equal to M2 is true. M1 equal to M2 is false. So output is false and true now. Last class we got true and false. But now you will get it as false and true because they are not equivalent. Right click on the class and select the option go to definition. Yeah, false and true. Right click on the class and you select the option called go to definition. See, right click on the console, go to definition. Will show the metadata of the console. Okay. So it's all about the things, and this is our this is our matrix class. Sorry, this is our test matrix class where we consumed all the code. Test matrix class here. First, what are you doing? See, with different values. Second thing, matrix arithmetic. Third one, fourth one, fifth one. You're performing a equal comparison and you're performing a not equal comparison in this case. Now, that's what exactly you're doing it. Okay, now. So you learned about two types of overloadings now. What are the two? Method overloading. Sorry. Method overloading and operator overloading. But I said you overloading is 5 types. Method, operator, constructor, indexer, and deconstructor. Okay, now today let us learn about the third type of overloading. What is the third type? Constructor overloading. The third type of overloading is constructor overloading. So what is constructor overloading? Array, just like methods in a class can be overloaded, constructors in a class also can be overloaded. I repeat it, just like methods in a class can be overloaded, constructors in a class also can be overloaded, and we call that as a constructor overloading. Is the point clear? Just like you're overloading methods, now you'll overload constructors also in your code. And if you overload constructors in the code, we call it as a constructor overloading. For example, look, I'm adding a new class. We'll name this class as overload cons. Overload cons. Okay, now what do you do? Yeah, I want to just declare two files in the code. Just a second. Yeah, I want to declare two fields in my code now. I just named the overload cons. Test overload cons is the name I given. Just a second. Yeah, in the document I given the name as test overload cons, whatever it is. Okay. Observe all of you. In this file, I'm writing two classes. First class is, second class is test overload cons. There are two separate classes. Okay. Overload cons, test overload cons. Main method is present here now. So my file name is test overload cons. Okay. Here, let me declare two fields here. Let me declare two fields. Int I will be. Int I will be. Now, I want to write a method public void method name display. Public void display. Console dot write line. Value of I is and value of B is. Are you clear or not? Value of I is and value of B is. Just going to give you the two different things now. I value and the B value. Okay? Fine, good. Now what? Right now, you have two fields here, but they are not initialized. They are not initialized. But we already know that. What is that? Every class will have a implicit default constructor which will initialize the fields with default values. So I value will be 0 and B value will be false. So let us call it and see. C1 dot, what is the method name? Display. Default values. Value of I is 0 and value of B is false. So what you see here is the default values in this case now. Clear? Okay, fine. Now, if you just check it out now, I have an implicit default constructor now, and the implicit default constructor is defined with will initialize I with 0 and B with false. Okay, now will initialize I with 0 and B with false. But can I initialize with my own values? Well, I learned it now. How to initialize parameterized constructor? You define a parameterized constructor. And guys, right now your constructor is default. So you're creating an instance by calling this. But if you make your constructor as parameterized now, public. Int I comma will be. This dot I is equals to I and this dot B is equals to B. Now your concept is parameterized. Can I initialize with the default values? No. It is compulsory. You are going to pass the values now. Error is here. I'm passing a value 10, comma. If I don't pass, error will come now. So execute the code. Working. But what do you understand now? Array, when I don't define a constructor, default constructor can be used, default values will come. If I define a constructor, I can pass my own values. So did you understand? Either or working, either default or parameters. But I want both. What do you want both? And if I don't know values, I will use default constructor. If I know values, I will use parameterized constructor. But problem is once you define a parameterized constructor, you will not have an implicit constructor anymore. Implicit constructor is defined only when there is no explicit constructor. Once the constructor is explicit, there is no implicit constructor in the code at all. Yes or not? So that's why to overcome this particular problem, what you do, you can overload constructors in the class. Public. Now you see, guys, how many constructors are there in your class now? Louder. One is default and one is parameterized. Now you have two constructors in the class now. When you have multiple constructors in the class, you have a chance of creating the instance of your class by calling any constructor you like. You can create the instance by calling any constructor you like. What I mean to tell you now, I can create an instance by not passing the values. Okay, don't pass. I'll use default values. I'll use default values. Okay, or you can create an instance by passing the values also. Okay, if you pass, I'll use whatever values you use now. Understood the point or not? If values are not passed, default values. If values are passed, parameterized values will be used. So you have two options now. But till now you remember, you have either or only. Either default you have or either parameterized you have. Right, till yesterday, your constructor is either default or either parameterized. But today you have both. Default is also present. Parameterized is also present. You can create an instance by calling the default constructor, and you can create the instance by calling the parameterized constructor also. Choice is yours. You can take the help of any constructor you like in that context. Hope it is clear, all of you. Okay, fine. So this is how you just go for defining the constructors in the code. See, now you have two constructors. All of you can observe. I will create multiple instances here. Is my second instance. So two instances are created. First instance, no values. Second instance, with values. So first time, default values will come into action. Second time, parameterized value. Are you clear? But guys, if I don't know any value, which constructor will use? If you know values, but if I know only one value, if I don't know two values, default constructor. I know two values, parameterized. If I know only one value. But second one, what do you do? You know only one value, yeah. You want to pass it. But second one, did you understand the confusion? Are you clear? How many constructors are there? 4. Now, do you have a chance to pass a value for whatever you want or not? I don't have value at all. Use default constructor. I know I value. Create an instance passing I. B will be default. I know P value. Create an instance passing B. I will be default. I know both values. Create an instance passing both. Choice is yours now. What's it? C2, C3. Here I know I value. I'm passing. Here I know I value. So I'm passing. Here I know Day value, same passing. Observe. Both are default. Given value, default value. Default value, given value. Both are given values. Did you understand my point here? So basically, what are you trying to do? We are trying to initialize the attributes of a class in a mix and match combination. Did you understand me? What I'm trying to do? I'm trying to initialize the attributes of a class in a mix and match combination. It's a mix and match combination. But there's a pain here. What is the pain here? How many attributes you have? 2. How many constructors you define? 4. Are you clear? Suppose what is that? No value, only I, only first value, only second value, first and second value, 4. If I have 3 attributes, wrong answer. Calculate here, calculate, permutations and combinations. Now calculate now. See, here no value, only first value, only second value, both values. Same way calculate for 3. 9 is wrong. Don't say 1, 2, 3, 4, somewhere it hit. Don't do that type of things. Find out, calculator. How many? Yeah, we are confidently. I think all of you should start with schooling again. You forgot mathematics also. 10 is wrong answer. 8, 8. Permutation combination here, 8. What? Only A, only B, only C, AB, AC, BC, ABC, and none. 8. Are you clear? It is 4. If it is 4, for 2 it is 4, for 3 it is 8, and for 4 it is 10. 10 it will allow here. $16, yeah. It is 16. So the simple mathematics here, what 2 power n. That is 2 power n. So 2 attributes, 4. 3 attributes, 2 power 3, 8. 4 attributes, 2 power 4, 16. 5 attributes, 2 power 5, 32. What I'm telling you, the headache here is, there is a problem here. What is the problem? My intention is to initialize the attributes in mix and match combination. My intention is to initialize the attributes in a mix and match combination. But problem is, I can initialize in a mix and match combination, but the problem is the number of constructors you should define. There 2 attributes are there, 4 constructors are defined. 3 are there, 8 I'll define. But think yourself, 4 are there, 16 you should define. If 5 are there, are you ready? Are you ready to write 32 constructors in the code now? If another attribute adds now, 6th attribute, 64. So it will become hectic writing that many number of constructors in the code. Are you clear? But the goal is what? Mix and match combination. Initialize the attributes in a mix and match combination. How to resolve this particular problem, I will tell you again in the latter stages in a different concept. But remember this problem here. Are you clear? Remember this problem. How to resolve it is we are going to see in a different concept in the latter classes. So today, my point is to tell you, if at all you wanted to define attributes in a class and initialize them in a mix and match combination, the number of constructors you require to define is 2 power n, where n refers to the number of attributes in your class. N refers to the number of attributes in your class. Tomorrow, if 10 attributes are there, means you will start crying now. It is 2 power 10. It is 2 power 10 is what you require to define. Okay, that is a hectic and a lengthy process. We can simplify this. We'll simplify this in a later stages in a different concept. Okay, now. So are you clear with constructor overloading? What is constructor overloading? Just like we overload methods in a class, we can overload constructors in a class also. Okay, if constructors in a class are overloaded, you can call any constructor of your choice for creating the instance. It is not mandatory. You need to create instance by this constructor only. So how many are there? 4. I created 4 instances by calling 4 separate constructors now. There is no rule like I need to call only first constructor or second constructor or third or fourth. I can call anything I want. Are you getting my point here? So when constructors are overloaded, we have 3 advantages here. What are the 3? First one, you can initialize all the attributes with default values. You can initialize all attributes with default values. Watch. All attributes with default values. You can initialize all attributes with a given set of values. Second one, you can initialize all attributes with a given set of values. Next, you can initialize some attributes with default and some attributes with a given set of values. Are you getting my point? Some with default, some with given set of value. Like this, you get the chance of initializing the attributes of the values in different ways. But problem is, advantages are this, but problem, if I want to initialize by using multiple constructors, the number of constructors I should define will be very much huge in number when there are more number of parameters in my code. Understood? So what is the mathematics here? 2 power n, where n is the number of attributes. N refers to the number of attributes what we have. Okay, now. So that's constructor overloading. Nothing more to explain yet. There's a simple concept, constructor overloading. What next? I need to tell you about one more thing here, guys. A concept called, I need to talk about one more important thing here. What it is? Copy constructor. What is it? Copy constructor. What is this copy constructor? Copy constructor. Guys, listen. I have an array with 100 elements in it. Okay, now I have an array with 100 elements in it. I wanted to create another array. I want to create another array with the same 100 elements now. I want to create another array with the same 100 elements now. So for example, understand, this is one array with 100 elements in it. I want to create one more array with all the 100 elements now with the same values. Again, without giving all the values, you can just go for creating an array like this. AR is equals to new array. What are you passing? AR. Constructor. Array constructor call AR. The constructor calling a constructor now, passing an array for it. Passing an array for it. You understood? You are creating an array class instance and passing an array to it now. Understood? You are creating which class instance and passing what? Array only to it. Okay, this is what we call copy constructor. What is copy constructor means? The constructor of a class taking the same class as its parameter type. The constructor of the class taking the same class as its parameter type is called as a copy constructor. Okay, for example, watch it. I'll give you clarity much more clearly. define a class. We'll name the class as Coffee Con Demo. Here, I want to declare some attributes, guys. I just want to declare some attributes. What's it? Customer ID, name, balance. Can I initialize them through a constructor now? Guys, listen, I said you this in your ATM system case study, remember? No need to pass all the values here. Pass the ID. Based on the ID, rest of the values can be loaded from database. Are you clear? But right now, guys, we still did not come across a database. We still did not come across a database. For that reason, I'll do one thing. This dot customer ID is equals to customer ID. This dot name is equals to, actually this name should come from the database. This name should come from the database. For the time being, I'm using static value, but in the future, this name will come from database. Next one, balance is equals to 5,000. Okay, simple class. A simple class name is CopyCon Demo. We are defining three attributes and one constructor to initialize all the three attributes. Now come to main method, static void main. Create the instance. I'm passing an ID. Suppose the ID is 105. Now what will happen? Control goes to constructor. And there what I said you in the future we'll have logic. Logic for connecting to database and load the details of 105. Are you clearer or not? Okay, it is going to connect to database and load the details of 105. Want to load the details of 105 now. Point clear? Yes or not? Okay, now I got it. Now listen, it's a joint account here. This is a joint account. And these two customers are trying to operate. These two customers are trying to operate this account at a time from two different places. Are you clear? These two different customers are trying to operate the account from two different places now. Joint account. So at that point of time, first customer came. I created an instance with this customer ID. Second customer came now. When second customer comes now, we want to create the instance with the same customer ID. Again connecting to database, again loading the database, data from the database can be time taking. Again connecting to the database and loading the data from the database will be time taking. It is going to be time taking. So what I want to create another instance now with the same 105 only now. Did you get my point or not? With the same 105 only. So one option is again constructor call. Constructor calling will be done. But again connecting to database and loading the data from the database, all these actions will be performed. Connecting to database, loading the data from the database. Understood my point? I want to avoid it. What do you want to avoid? I want to connect it to the database again. Why? Yeah, tomorrow guys, databases in real time will be very busy. They'll be used by so many people. So how much pressure you can decrease it. Don't put overload on it. Everyone connecting will be a problem. Everyone connecting will be a problem. So you're in office. There are 5 developers working under lead. Everyone start asking some questions to the lead. The lead cannot focus on his work. All the 5 people are asking continuous doubts. What he says, you can resolve. First you try to resolve the problem. You do that on your own. If you don't get, come. In this, 3 people are seniors, means they joined. 2 are freshers. One says, clearly says, you people already have some knowledge. Try yourself. Okay, remaining 2, let them come up with answer. Of all the 5 asking me questions now, I cannot do my work. Are you clear? So minimize it. The 3 people who have some experience, you basically Google or do something and find out. Otherwise, we'll talk later. but the remaining two are freshly joined. They don't know anything at all. For them, I'll be ready to help, but not for all the five. Because all the five, if you start helping, I can't do my work. Is the point clear? Same way, if you really want an object connecting to database, fine. Okay, but understand the point here. Already one object is created with that 105. Again, connecting to database, increasing the burden on the database is time taking. That's going to be waste of resources. So to overcome this, what you can do, you can copy the values of the CD1 to CD2 directly. You can copy the values of CD1 to CD2 directly so that re-establishing a connection to the database will not be required. Did you understand the point or not? How's the how to do? Not like this, guys. Not like this. This is not copying the values. This is not copying the value. What are you doing? You're asking CD1 to use CD2 to use CD1 memory. No, this is not copying the values. Both are accessing the same, but I want two different copies. What I want? Two different copies. So what I want is a new instance. What I want is a new instance. But this instance, what I want to do is copy the values of CD1 to CD2. Means if you want to copy the values of CD1 to CD2, what do you want to pass here? I want to pass CD1 here. What I want to pass? CD1. But one thing remember, the constructor of the class doesn't take copy con demo. The constructor of the class will take integer. Array, see here, you define a constructor to take integer. See, your method takes an integer. Can you pass string? Then your constructor is taking integer. Can you pass CD1? What is CD1? Odd instance. Copy con demo. What is custom ID? Integer, yeah. No, don't say variable. What is that? Integer. What is CD1? Copy con demo. It's which type? That's the point here. Variable or instance, that's not the question. What type? It is a copy con demo type. But what is the constructor taking? When it is taking integer, how can you pass copy con demo type? Error C? Check out. Error. What is error C, all of you? I cannot convert con demo to copy con demo to integer. Clearly telling you that takes what? Integer. What are you passing? Copy con demo, not visible. Okay, now? So fine. To resolve this, see what I'm doing now. One more constructor, overloading. One more constructor, I'm overloading. For this, what I'm passing, I'm not passing int or float or something. The parameter of this constructor is the same class. The parameter of the constructor is the same class. What you're passing? Same class. It is the same class. What class? Copy con demo only. See now, because you have a constructor which is taking copy con demo as a parameter, you don't have an error now. Why? Overloaded constructor here. See here? First constructor takes what? CD1 is what here? Copy con demo only, no? Passing it. Second constructor takes what? I'm using it. Understood? Okay? Now, what are you going to write here, sir? What are you going to write here? Okay, I'll clarify you what I'm going to write here. Just a minute. When I say this dot refers to what? The class member. Array, this dot refers to the class member. Okay, now here also I'm saying this dot customer ID means it is the new member of the instance. The member of the instance is equals to. Did you understand the statement? Array, just like you're assigning customer ID here, I'm assigning CD dot customer ID because customer ID is inside the CD now. Customer ID is inside the CD. Next. Next. You say that I said to you it's a great feature available in 2022. What is that? AI. That is only telling you, yeah, it will tell you what code to write also. That much beautiful Microsoft has designed. What code to write already showing you. This is what you need to write. So use it. Okay. Now what happens? Say, first you are creating this instance. When you create this instance, what will happen? Control jumps to the first constructor, correct? Connects to database and loads the data. Instance created. Now you're creating the second instance. What are you passing? Call the first constructor, second constructor. Why first here? Second one now. Call the second constructor now. Which one? This one. Now what will happen? The values of CD1 will come to CD and copied to. Did you understand what is a copy constructor now? Copies the values from one instance to another instance. Copy constructor will copy the values from one instance to another instance. Instance to instance copying, we use the copy constructor. Okay, so and what should be the parameter of a copy constructor? The same class. The copy constructor parameter should be which type? The same class only. What's it? Copycon demo. The parameter is also copycon demo. Are you clearer or not? So I'm copying the values of CD1 to CD2. And remember guys, sir, why like this? We can directly say CD2 is equals to CD1. You already taught us. That's a reference. That's not an instance. That is a reference, not an instance. What is the difference? A reference doesn't have memory. Changes of CD1 will reflect to CD1. Changes of CD1 reflects to CD2. But what are you creating now with a reference instance? Louder. Changes of CD1 doesn't reflect to CD2. Changes of CD2 doesn't reflect to CD1. I hope you understood everyone. Okay, this is a new instance what you are creating. And that's the use of it. Sir, where do we use it? Where do we use it? Means I already said you first only guys. We want to copy the values from one to the other. We use it. Here, your live example is shown here. This is an array. How many values? I want one more array. I want one more array with the same values again. So what to do? Array BRR is equals to array. What I'm passing ARR? What is the ARR? ARR is array now. I'm passing the array for that and creating an instance. So what will happen? Copies the values of ARR to BRR. So why you want it? I want to do some manipulations on the array. I want to do some manipulations on the array. After doing manipulations, all the values gets disturbed. Are you getting me? Tell me. So again, if you want to get back the original values, you can get it. So that is why I created a copy and I will do all my manipulations on the copy. Original will be like that only. I will do my changes on the duplicate copy. Is it clear? Again, creating an array writing int BRR is equals to and assigning all the values to its lengthy process. Nah? So without that, call the copy constructor, copies the values from the first array to second array, start working on the second array. If you are fine, satisfied everything, then directly do it on the first one. Understood my point or not? So to testing point of view, without disturbing the original, we always work on the duplicate copies. So for that, use a copy constructor now and create a copy of that array again. So mainly we use it in case of arrays and collections. Mainly we use this copy constructors in case of arrays and collections. When you're working with arrays and collections, we'll be using the concept of the copy constructors in our applications now. Is it clearer everyone? Yes or not? Okay, that is all about the copy constructor and why do we use the copy constructor in our code. So you can see now, both are two separate copies. I'll preview. These both are two separate copies and let me preview. How? Let me write a method, public void display. Console dot write line. Dollar. And here I'm just going to write what? First one, cust ID. Cust ID. Next, name. Next, balance. Come here, call the method cd1 dot and cd2 dot display. Initially, guys, both are having the same values only. So both will print you the same. We did not set the startup object. Both are same now? Okay. I'll prove you these both are not the same. These are two separate copies. I'll prove you these two are not same. Both are two separate copies. How, sir? This is a proof to you to tell these two are two separate copies, not the same. But the reference, what you'll get, guys? 6,000, 6,000. What you'll get is 6,000, 6,000. Can you see that? Changes of the first one reflecting to the second one or not reflecting? That doesn't reflect. Because these are two separate instances or the two separate copies. One changes will never reflect to the second one. I hope you understood the difference between a reference. A reference means no separate memory. Same memory given to the second one also. But instance is a separate memory. And here this is a copy constructor. Copy constructor means it's a process of creating a new instance of the class by copying the values from an existing instance. What is the reference? A copy of a class that is initialized by using an existing instance will not have a separate memory allocation. But copy constructor means creating a reference instance by copying the values from existing instance. So these are two separate copies. Changes of the first one will not reflect to the second one. First one changes won't reflect to second one, and second one changes won't reflect to first one. So that's the beauty of the copy constructor what you have here. Are you clear? In which scenarios we use, I said here? Arrays and collections, we use the copy constructor. Arrays we completed here, but in the future we'll talk about collections. When I explain about collections, I will show you using the copy constructors there. I won't define, readily available. We use the copy constructors and we'll create multiple copies of it. We'll use the copy constructor and create multiple copies of it. Okay, that's what copy constructor is. So guys, with this, I completely explained everything about constructors to you. I did not finish the constructor discussion earlier. Earlier, I said you only about how to define a constructor, why to define a constructor, how to define, why to define. But with this particular thing, I explained everything about the constructors. Finally, I want to conclude you. This is a very, very important question in the interviews also. What is it? Types of constructors. What is that? Types of constructors. Tomorrow, if you're asked about this particular question, what are the types of constructors in the class? The answer is, there are 5 types of constructors in a class. There are 5 types of constructors in the class. What are the 5 types? First one, default constructor. You already know that. Yes or not? Second one, parameterized constructor. You already know that. Parameterized constructor. Third one, static constructor. You learned static constructor also. Fourth one, copy constructor. What one is? Fifth one, private constructor. What is this one? Private constructors. So you are asked about the constructors. This is the answer what you require to give. What is it? Default, parameterized, copy, static, private. In this 4, I already explained you guys. Default constructor to initialize the fields of a class with default values. Parameterized to initialize with a given set of values. Static. These are required for initializing static and constant fields. These are required for initializing static and constant fields. Copy constructor, just now we talked for copying the values from one to the other. Then what is this private constructor here? Private constructor means actually nothing special here. This private constructor can be default, the private constructor can be parameterized, but private constructor means by default implicit constructors are public, do you remember? And if the class contains private constructor, you cannot inherit or you cannot create the instance of this class in another class. That is the first rule, huh? Inheritance first rule is that only. If the parent class constructor is private, inheritance is not possible. Yes or not? So basically tomorrow, if you want to restrict, the option of creating the instance of one class in another class, if you want to restrict the option of creating the instance of one class in another class, we use these private constructors. Means these classes are independent of themselves and they cannot be consumed by anyone. They will run individually. But no one can consume them. Means simply speaking, it's an introvert. It is an introvert. You know the difference between introvert and extrovert? Introvert means generally these people doesn't mingle with others. Okay, they always try to live alone. Extrovert means who is very socialite. Will talk with everyone, extrovert. So private constructor, if a class contains private constructor, understand the class is an introvert. Means doesn't communicate with anyone at all. No one can work with it. But what do they use, sir? We use this in a specific scenario called as singleton classes. We use them in some scenarios. Okay, just a second. Yeah, there are 5 types of classes. What we just have. Basically, we just use this constructors in scenarios where we want to define singleton classes. Singleton classes. What are the singleton classes? I'll explain you about this singleton. It's a design pattern here. We'll understand about this in the MVC, not here. We'll understand about that singleton in the MVC. When we learn MVC, I'll explain about that singleton. Okay, don't bother about it right now. We'll talk about in the later stages, but have a look. 5 types of constructors. Default. Don't forget, just remember, these are the very important questions in interviews here, all of you. Inheritance rules, what I said you, this one. I repeatedly say people, concentrate on the basics, points, the basic things on the object-oriented programming. This happened exactly in the last page. I pinpoint everything and I call for these particular people for interviews. I call these particular people for interviews in my company. In our own company also interviews are there called. Okay, in that, I see maximum of the student. Everyone who prepares for interview there means they start preparing of ASP.NET, MVC, so a lot of things and they come up and they forget the basics. Many of the people failed there only. 5 people got selected. Nearly 15 to 20 people came. 15 people failed at that particular day. Basic, we don't know basics. Write a simple for loop means, The interview test is given very small. Write a simple for loop for printing 1 to 100. They failed there. Now, how is your standard? The people who should sit more time on the machine, spend time on the machine, coding. You need to just do coding. You need to be acquainted. Listening to classes, everything will be very simple. You watch a movie, it will be very beautiful. But make a movie. Understood? You listen to the class, it is as simple. I won't get any error. I will write 100 lines code, 200 lines of code, 300 lines of code. Maybe if I get error anyway, I put a semicolon or a double quote, I may miss that type of error. Otherwise, I don't get any error. Are you clear? Why? I'm used to writing the code from 15 years. From 15 years, I'm writing code. I'm used to it. Okay, I'll do. But you write the code the same. How many errors how many silly mistakes you're making, you're seeing in your WhatsApp group only. You're seeing in your group only. You're not following the case sensitiveness where you're required to write Pascal case, you're not following. That's what. So that's what I say is spend time on the machine writing the code. Are you clearer or not? Initials too. You are not a project manager just to tell the architecture or something. You are a developer. You need to start from coding only. Clear? Spend time on the machine for more time. Spending time on the machine is not using YouTube and WhatsApp, not using YouTube and your Facebooks. Spend time doing your programs. Okay? Repeated practice and reading of the notes. If you are good in fundamentals, you can easily crack any interview first. Am I clear what I said here? Fundamentals are important. You have always, there is a saying always, stick to the basics. I say the same point here only, here also. Entry level programmers, we don't expect much. We don't expect much. What we expect is only the basics. Just the basics are what we just expect. If you are good in basics, any company, see, the interview, the person who does an interview should get a feeling. What feeling? This person will learn. If I tell him he can learn, that confidence you require to give him. Are you clear or not? You require to give him a confidence. What is it? I'm a good learner. Okay, I'm a good learner. You teach, I will learn. Then he will be he has confidence on you. But if he doesn't have a confidence, you cannot learn. If he doesn't get a confidence, you cannot learn. No company will entertain you. No company will enter. Basic things only. I said you 20 people came to interview, and in this, 6 are selected. One said that he cannot join because he was out of station. He cannot join because our company is direct office online. We don't have a work from home option. He's from another state, so he want to work from home. 6 are selected, 5 got joined. So the main thing is remaining 14 people after completing the interview. Because because my reference, what happened is I was not given the chance to take the interview because in my reference I cannot take the interview. So what the feedback I got from all the people who done the interviews with the same thing only. They don't know basics. They don't know basics. Simple questions. And when I talk with the candidates in the classroom after that, next day I talk with them, everyone is saying, I answered everything, sir. You think you answered everything. Okay? And simple things. They showed me the paper also. On the paper, write a program for printing a for loop, writing a for loop to print from 1 to 100. There are also mistakes. You cannot write a simple for loop to print from 1 to 100. What is your standard test? Are you clearer? So I'm telling you that always stick to basics. Practice. That is only your next, until the course completed. That is only your target and that is only your goal. Clear? How much time you spend on the system, that much of knowledge you will gain. Second habit all of you should make is debugging. Don't understand the code. Don't ask someone here. Debug. First debug. Try to analyze. Later on, still a confusion. Then get back to your teacher or the coordinator or someone. First, debugging is the important thing. Okay now? Okay, well, we'll stop here, guys. We'll meet on Monday.